I try to understand. You know, I would say that's my biggest job. My job is to understand. I have to be able to fully understand the choices and the decisions that the character has to make within the story. And if you can't understand that fully, I don't think you should ever even remotely touch a character. And so I become obsessive. I keep thinking about it. I don't necessarily sit down and do work. I don't really like table reads. I don't really like rehearsal in the sense that we're gonna put the scene up and stuff like that. I get very uncomfortable and very self-conscious. I think a lot of that work happens in my head. And then by the time I get on set, I'm really I love my crew. I love my camera operator. I love everybody on the set, because all of a sudden you're with a team, you know? And then the process just becomes like, we're all working together.
And that becomes like family, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Like people you see every day and people that you can confide in, truly.
Yeah, I was sharing backstage how it's a bit of a circus life, you know? You get to spend all these months with this group of people, and you see them every single day, sometimes for 16 hours a day, and sometimes in places like Swakopmund in Windhoek in Namibia, where there's nothing and you just hang out with them every second of every moment. And then one day you wrap and it's done. And then the next day you don't really see them again. And it's really heartbreaking. And then you run into them like 5 years later and you're like crying, because it's like seeing a family member. It's not just like a friend. And I just love my job. I can't believe I'm so lucky to have this job. You guys don't have to clap every time. Honestly, it's so cool. Don't worry. I can feel the appreciation. Very sweet. That's my neighbor. Thank you.
Well, I love that, and it obviously shows just the connections that can be done on set. About production. So when you founded your own production company, Secret Menu, in 2003, did you have any certain types of movies that you wanted to make under your work as a producer?
Yeah, I mean, so Denver and Delilah was a shingle we had that I think existed around Monster time. So we were making movies under Denver and Delilah Films for over 20 years. The company then kind of grew and became a little bit more broad, and so we extended it into another company called Secret Menu, and the mandate's still the same. Our slate is very similar. We want to make stuff that we love, and I think, you know, it's pretty clear we love action, and we like weird and crazy, like sometimes unlikable characters that you just fall in love with. But we also do, you know, a lot of television. We produced Mindhunter with David Fincher for Netflix. Yeah, it's a great show. So we dabble in a lot of stuff. We love film, we love television. Three of us, and then an entire great team. And so the slate is big. And I'll answer I'm so all over the place, sorry. I'll say this, we're not closed off to anything. Because I think genre doesn't drive anything, it's story. And so when you get a good story and you get a good filmmaker and a good writer, that's what you choose. That's how you make your decision. You don't make it on. I really love action movies, so I take back my beginning and I'm gonna leave it with the end.
That's amazing. I love hearing about your process on stage because it seems so natural, you know?
Yeah, you can't be too rigid about this stuff. You know, you have to be sponge-like. You have to be able to soak up things constantly. I think art dies when you come in with a plan. You have to be able to kind of constantly, up until the moment that you shoot it, and then even in the editing room, you have to be able to listen to people's reactions and things that they are picking up. And I can't tell you how many times a sound operator has come up to me and said, like, hey, did you ever? And I'm like, no, I didn't. And like, it's such a great experience if you're open to it. There are actors who will just go to their trailer and, you know, wait to be called. And I've just never been. I think that's why I like producing. I love being on a set. I really love being on a set. But yeah, you can't be rigid.
Well, I'm certain your sponge-like nature helped in 2004 when you got your first Oscar nomination and won. Could you talk to us about that night?
Oh wow, that night was a blur. You know, you have to understand, I am from a very, very small town in South Africa called Benoni. Yes. Usually when I do these with other actors, they're like, oh, Minnesota! There's never anything from Benoni. But tiny, tiny little town. And, you know, when I was a little girl, my mom would take me to the movies. And my mom would take me to the drive-in theater because it was like a farm community. We didn't have movie theaters back then. I sound like such an old person right now. Back in my day. But I fell in love with movies, and I didn't know everything that came with filmmaking. I just loved movies. So for me to stand on that stage,
I think you just recreated it perfectly.
it doesn't make sense, you know? So, yeah. You guys suck. I have my daughters here tonight. They can't see me cry, okay? This is ridiculous. Yeah, no, it was amazing. Sorry. It's a true testament that dreams come true, you know? And if it can happen to me, trust me, it can happen to anybody. So don't ever stop dreaming. That's beautiful.
That was so moving. Oh my goodness. Okay. Well, being known as one of the most prominent action stars as well, are there any tactics that you've incorporated to push more physicality into your roles, or does it just kind of come organically while filming?
Well, I was a dancer for most of my early life. Yeah, my mom put me in a ballet class when I was 4, and I just fell in love. Same. Movement is so important in storytelling. You know, I'm so grateful that my mom did. I feel like later in my career, when I started making action movies, I felt like I had this great advantage from just years and years of ballet and understanding my body. But more than that, dance is acting. Great dance moves you. It makes you feel something. It tells you a story. So understanding how to tell a story with your body and not with your mouth is a real advantage to have. And I think a lot of actors don't have a lot of access to that, or not everybody was in dance classes when they were younger, you know? So I always felt like I had that advantage, but I didn't truly know that superpower until I made this movie. Because I think I have 12 lines, no, like a little bit more, but I have like very, very little dialogue. Sorry, spoiler alert. I have very, very little dialogue in this movie, and I felt comfortable. I felt it was so exciting to not have to rely on dialogue and to really use physical movement. This is the first time I realized, like, I can make a movie and not have to talk all the time. And I kind of dug into that for a while because I really loved it. Yeah.
Wow. Well, talking about your life and the inspiration you pulled, do you feel like any of that played a role in your authentic portrayals of working class women, like in the Cider House Rules, Tully and North County? And do you think that explosiveness and the things that you experienced kind of tied you to their experience or to their portrayals on the screen?
Yeah, that's a great question. I do, I think so. You know, I think you, what is it, you write what you know. Isn't that always the advice that they give you? I think it's the same with acting. I think you are attracted to material that you feel and you understand and you know the people, but sometimes you also don't, and that's exciting too. And I've done that, a lot of that. Like, but yeah, those kind of tough women, the ones that have tenacity and great resilience, those are the women I grew up with. Yeah, my mom is one of those tough bitches. Yeah, and I grew up in an environment, you know, it was tough. It was a hard life, and you had to be that way. And so, I think I probably have a harder time playing wallflowers, So that's probably a challenge I should take on. But I do love playing those women, those characters.
And we love to see it. We love to see you in these action roles and these like very prominent woman roles, which inspire thousands and millions. So on that note, did you find, or like what specifically did you find most challenging about portraying the exhaustion and emotional reality in motherhood in Tully?
So when Tully came to me, Jason and I had made a film before and remained friends in Diablo, Cody, who wrote that incredible screenplay. We stayed in touch and we were like, we just loved working with each other so much. We were like, we have to do this again. We have to do this again. And you say that a lot and then it never happens. And then Brooke called Jason and she was like, I have this script. And we were just like, yeah, let's just do it. Let's just do it. At the time that it came to me, I had a 3.5, almost 4-year-old and a 2-month-old. So when I read that script, I was incredibly sleep deprived for myself. I was kind of like in the throes, obviously didn't give birth and nothing like the character, but that exhaustion, that constant exhaustion was something that I think helped me when I read the script. I also had a friend, a close friend, who went through real serious postpartum depression. I didn't really know anything about it to that extent until she went through it, and it was really eye-opening. And I remember reading the script, thinking about her specifically, and wanting it to almost make the movie for her.
That's wonderful. I'm sure she just felt so appreciated in that moment.
Yeah, God, Jesus, I'm crying a lot. Okay.
It's all welcome here.
Well, I'm curious, you're crying a lot, you're emotionally vulnerable up here, but you're also emotionally vulnerable in so many of your films. But do you feel like there's a difference when you work on more action-driven films like Mad Max compared to like character-driven films? Bombshell?
I don't think I'm interested in making movies that don't have great character exploration. I love a good plot, don't get me wrong, but I don't want to go and spend 3 or 4 months on a movie and not get to push my boundaries of what I know the human condition to be. I like making movies, but I love being an actor, and a big part of being an actor is really crawling under the skin of someone that's not like you and trying to make that second nature. And I love that part of my job. So even in action movies, I'm so annoying because I don't want to play someone that I can't believe exists. Like, it has to be real for me, and I think in action movies, you have to sometimes push a little bit more to get that. And so, yeah, I think it shouldn't be genre driven as far as like the extent of the character that you can explore. I think that's always up to a good writer, a good filmmaker, and an actor that's willing to go there.
Wow. And I'm sure working with the directors and writers so closely has helped you achieve that level of performance.
That is the key. So I'm gonna give you guys some advice, okay? You have to be able to tap in with your actors. Everybody is there and it's a team effort, but there has to be, like, the huddle is your writer, your director, and your actors. That's your huddle. It doesn't mean that everything else is not important. Trust me, the cinematographer and where the camera is just as important, because you can do a performance that is the performance of a lifetime. If it's not shot right, if it's not lit right, it's not gonna have the same effect. So everything that I've ever done that remotely was okay and good was because of people like that who knew where to shoot me, what to do, and then a sound editor that came in and put a sound in there, and it's the whole team that does it. But you get to push the envelope with your writer, with your director, in a way that there is trust. If you trust somebody you're working with creatively, you'll do anything for them. You work with an actor that you don't have that trust with, they'll do a good job for you. But you have trust, like real trust, like you spend that kind of time with somebody and it doesn't feel like you're just there for hire, but you're on a mission with this person and you're going on this road together and you're gonna make something together great. When you do that with somebody creatively, they'll do anything for you. And I don't mean that in like a pleasing way, meaning in we're gonna explore. I'm not gonna stop. You're not gonna stop. We're gonna keep exploring. And the first person I got to do that with was Patty Jenkins on Monster. It just was a real partnership. And from that moment on, I was like, I don't ever want to make a movie that's not like that. I want real partnerships.
Please give it up. That was just amazing advice from such an amazing person. Well, a little bit more specifically, let's talk about Mad Max Fury Road. Do you have a favorite memory while filming the film?
I actually do. Okay. So my oldest daughter was like 6 weeks old when I went to go make that movie, and I was a single mom, and I didn't take a nanny or figure out that I should probably take a nanny or find a nanny. And I was sharing with them backstage that all of the girls in this film and Nicole basically raised her for the 6 months that we were in Namibia. She was in the rig with us because I didn't really, in between takes she was with the driver and my assistant, but in between takes she was like, I was feeding her in the rig and the girls would hold her and then she would fall asleep or she would puke on Nick. But those are some of my favorite memories because, you know, she learned to walk on that movie. So there's like a deep connection to this film. Yeah, all of you who thought I was gonna tell a different story, shame on you, shame on you.
Wow, well, that must have... Let's give him a second. Well, wow, that must have created such a beautiful sense of camaraderie on that set. And just... yeah. Well, being a woman yourself, and especially having daughters, too, how did this movie's themes of resilience, survival, and women's autonomy resonate with you?
That is a really good question. I mean that when this was a storyboard script, which I've never experienced before, meaning there wasn't a script written, it was just storyboarded. And I'll never forget.
And when you say that, do you mean every scene was storyboarded out, or was it like a general idea?
Not unlike, usually a director will kind of like board it out in a room and you can kind of see the shots. But this was actually in a script form, so it was like the size of a script, it looked like a script, and when you paged it, it was just, I think it was maybe 3 blocks that you would get on every single page of the entire movie. That's what I mean. This movie was really in his head. And I still have that script. I look at it every once in a while and I just go, wow, I can't believe we made that movie from this, but it just shows you, right? But the thing that was like a real kind of like aha moment for me on that movie was, I have a bit of I'm allergic to like good people, like like heroic people who do everything right and for the right reasons. Like I have a bit of an allergic. I just don't know people like that, so it's like hard for me to kind of do that. And there were moments where I felt like Furiosa was a bit of like a rescuer, and she takes these girls and she's rescuing them from this bad thing and she's giving them freedom. And I didn't really know how to play that. And I'll tell you why. Because if you think of that character, she doesn't look like that, right? To me, she doesn't. There was something about her that informed me a lot, and that was in the first 5 minutes of the movie when not in this movie, but when you realize that she was held there captive, that she was kidnapped, that she was only good for breeding, and then she couldn't breed. So she was really good for nothing. And how do you take someone who comes from that and wants to burn the world down? Because that's the thing I fell in love with her. She wants to burn the world down. Mm-hmm. And you can't do that as a hero, you know? And it took me a while. I had to really figure this out once I was actually in Namibia. I realized that I couldn't just go and save these girls. But if I thought about it, that I wanted to hurt him in the most in the best way possible. What's the thing I could do to hurt him? The man that hurt her so much. I can take his prized possession. I'm gonna take his wives. And so it's almost like the human condition of selfishness then becomes the thing that's actually good in her life. And I love that. I love that she had to like find that, you know? In the beginning, George was a little scared of it because he felt like maybe it was too cold, but there were like a few moments in the movie, they're very subtle, but where, you know, I don't really have that much regard for them in the beginning. They're just kind of like, they have to come on this journey. They're just part of the plan. And then it takes time for me to kind of see them for who they are and what I'm really doing. But that initial plan to me had to be something selfish and someone that was based from anger and hurt in order to then have the arc of someone who realizes that it is actually a bigger picture. Like, this is the redemption she's been looking for.
Wow, that's so poetic. You went on the same journey understanding her that she did with the character, or that her co-characters.
Shows like authenticity. Like that's what I see.
You gotta find the end. You just have to find the end, you know? Yeah, you have to, I think for artists of any sort, you just know it feels right when it hits, you know? You gotta just keep hammering the steel.
Wow, well, do you feel like young leads like Furiosa still help young women today to find resilience and strength? And do you consider her or even yourself a role model?
I don't know.
Really? Even with all that nuance?
No, I am a flawed human being. I am as flawed as they come, and those are my people. I love flawed people. I try to be good. I try to be, you know, I believe in goodness, and I believe in respect, and I believe in, you can ask my kids, I'm a real, please, thank you, be a good person. You can't be an asshole. But I don't aspire to be a role model. I want to be a good mom, and my kids will be the first to tell you that, you know, I don't try and pretend to be something that I'm not. And I think it's important for them to see the mistakes that I make in my everyday life, to realize that that's normal. And it's not what happens to you, it's what you do with it, ultimately. It's the idea of, you get thrown in the deep end, are you gonna sink or are you gonna swim? That's up to you. Nobody else makes that decision for you. And that's kind of like how I've always seen myself. I think that Furiosa became representative of a lot of things for a lot of women. I cannot tell you how many people have like walked up to me and showed me a Furiosa tattoo on their arm, which is so cool. And then kids who get named Furiosa, like I've been on a cruise where like a dolly grip would say to me, my daughter's name is Furiosa or Charlize, but I just thought that was really cool. And I've actually met a couple of Furiosas, little baby Furiosas. And to see a little baby in a stroller and go, Furiosa, is like the weirdest thing ever. But I think she had that impact on a lot of people, and that is the power of art. That truly has nothing to do with me. It's the power of art. It's the power of storytelling.
I know, it just shows like the impact and all that it's done and everything. Of this
You guys are gonna
amazing
have
film.
that impact, you know?
Hopefully so.
Yeah.
Alrighty. So, did you learn, or what did you learn specifically from doing all of your own physical work and stunts in this film?
And I'm strong. Yeah, yeah, I'm proud of that. Yeah, I'm really proud of that. I love doing things. I've always loved doing things. I like to lift things up, and I don't know, I just like, it, to me, I hope to have that as long as I possibly can. Yeah, and I like it. So to me, it's not like people are like, wow, it must be so hard. I'm like, no, I get to wake up every day and climb a mountain. That's my job. That's amazing. Like, when is the next time I'm gonna have that opportunity? Yeah, dream gig, totally.
That's so amazing. I love that so much. Well, to conclude today, what impact have you seen since the release of this film?
A lot of babies. I think, you know, I'm really, I take my hat off to George Miller, who, you know, this came from his, it came from deep, deep, deep inside of his bones, the story, and it meant everything. It means everything to him. He gave everything to this film. He really did. And I think he will always be associated with this film in a way that good movies are associated with their director, first and foremost. And it's very rare that you get to experience that as an actor. It's special when you get to experience that. And so I'm grateful that I have a small part in that I'm part of that. But I haven't seen it in like 13 years, so I don't know if it holds up, you guys.
Definitely does.
We'll see tonight. We'll see tonight.
Take our word.
Well, Charlize, thank you so much for your clear and concise answers. And thank you for being the most wonderful crowd that we could have asked for.
Thank you, guys.
And we'll see you, and I hope you enjoyed the movie.
Furiosa!